You're listening to the Life Coaching Secrets Podcast, episode 216.
Did you know that life coaches are needed now more than ever? I'm Frank Macri, founder of Thriving Coach Academy. I've trained over 1,000 coaches and helped them launch their own successful coaching businesses. If you want to make an incredible income and impact as a coach and have a lot of fun doing it, I'll show you exactly how to get it done. This is Life Coaching Secrets.
What's up, coaches? In this episode, I'm going to share how to avoid wasting lots of time in the wrong coaching market and how to tap into coaching specialties that will make you lots and lots of money. I'm so excited to dive into this. I call this topic niche viability. Okay, so I'm going to break down what does niche viability mean. When I say that something is viable, if you think about that word, viable means that something is capable of working, it's capable of producing results. So when it comes to a business, a viable niche means that it is a business where people have a real problem and they're willing to pay to help solve that problem. So you want to make sure when you are establishing your business that you are not just choosing a niche, but you are choosing a viable coaching niche. I'm really pumped to break this down. Before I dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to our coaches in the Academy. We have seen so many incredible results this year. I knew 2025 was going to be our best year yet for our coaches. Plenty of coaches launching their businesses, leaving behind their 9-to-5 jobs, and really immersing themselves into doing their coaching work that they're so passionate about. So I'm super excited for all the amazing things we've seen with our coaches. All right, so let's talk about this topic of niche viability. Maybe you have a specialty area that you're interested in coaching in. I'm going to go over exactly what makes a niche viable, and it's probably not what you think. I'm going to go over some of the myths that cause a lot of coaches to choose the wrong niche, and I'll go over some simple ways you can start testing out your idea before devoting a lot of time and money to it. And I'm going to leave you with what I call the 3 super niches. Okay, the 3 niche areas, the areas in life where people are always looking to invest. So that way you don't have to guess. You can avoid all the crickets when you're marketing yourself, and instead you can start attracting real paying clients. All right, so let's go over what makes a niche viable. There are 2 criteria that it needs to meet. Number 1, there needs to be a clear problem or need. Okay, there must be people that are actively struggling with the problem that your coaching addresses. There must be people that are aware that they have a problem and they want a solution. They must be looking for some kind of guidance or support. Number 2 is a viable niche involves people that are actually willing to invest in solving that problem. Okay, they must want help badly enough to actually pay for it. Some problems are frustrating, but they're not urgent enough for people to actually spend their money on them. So the more urgent or costly the problem is, emotionally, financially, and even physically, the easier it's going to be to sell coaching around it. So let me break down some of the biggest mistakes that coaches make when it comes to choosing their niche. Now, I've made a few other episodes that are really helpful around choosing your coaching niche or niche, and I wrote them down here just in case you wanted to refer back. Episode 103 is called Choosing a Niche, and then episode 161 is on niche resistance. So if you really are wanting to figure out what your coaching niche is, then check out episodes 103 and also episode 161. They will complement this one very well. All right, so mistake number 1 is choosing a coaching niche based on your passion instead of on demand. So just because you're passionate about a topic does not automatically mean that people are willing to pay for coaching on it. Okay, so for example, let's say that you really love mindfulness and you want to help people feel more present and be more mindful. Are there people actively looking for and paying for this, right? If not, then your niche might not be viable. Mistake number 2 is if you are being too vague and broad. So if you say that you're a confidence coach or a life transformation coach, this is way too broad to attract paying clients. Okay, sometimes you might think, oh, I'm going to help people get rid of stress. I'm going to help people achieve their goals. This is so vague, right? You've got to specify what kind of stress are you helping them get rid of? What type of goals are you helping people achieve? So you really want to define what that specific problem is that you solve and the specific person that you would solve that problem for. So who is it for? Who are you helping? And what are you supporting that person with? Mistake number 3 is choosing a niche without doing any research or testing on it. Some coaches might assume that their niche is viable without gathering any evidence or doing some market research. I'm going to share with you in a little bit how to do this. They'll go out and build all these websites, create all this content, design these programs, but not test whether there are people that are actually interested in it. And it can be very discouraging if this happens to you. And mistake number 4 is targeting people who need support but won't pay for it. Okay, so you really want to be aware of this. It has to be an audience that is willing and able to invest in receiving support. So I remember at one point in my coaching business, I thought I want to help college students, and I was struggling for a while supporting this population, and then I realized that so many college students have mountains of debt. They don't have income sources in their life. So I was trying to sell coaching to an audience that wasn't capable of really investing in themselves. Okay. Especially if you want to sell premium and high ticket coaching, like offering your coaching for $5,000 a client, $10,000 a client, you want to support people that are at least resourceful enough to invest in themselves. They don't have to be ultra wealthy people, but just, they're able to live and meet their own means, pay their bills, and they have the space to invest in themselves. So instead of supporting college students, for example, a more viable niche might be supporting and coaching young professionals who are in their first 5 years of work, struggling to advance their careers. You see how just adjusting a little bit could make a big difference. Okay, so let's talk about how to test if your niche is actually viable, because before you fully commit to a niche, there are some steps you can take to actually see if the demand is already there. Number 1 is by doing a quick market check. And what this means is just look for evidence out there that there are people already paying to resolve that problem or paying to get that solution. So one easy way to do this is by doing a search on Google, looking around on social media. Can you find other coaches that are addressing this niche, other books that are created to support people with this problem, events around the problem or topic, other courses that are there to address the topic? I like to do what's called the Amazon test as well as the Google test. So instead of just looking on Google, check Amazon. Are there books that are related to the problem you want to coach people on? Okay, are there successful coaches, courses, books offering similar services? If you see those results, that's a good sign. If you don't really see anything out there, it's likely because there's no demand. But if people are already spending money to solve the problem, that's a really good sign that your niche is viable. Another way that you can test your niche viability is having conversations with potential clients. So talk to actual people who would be a fit for your niche and ask them about their challenges and whether they've actually looked for solutions. If you notice that they're expressing interest in your coaching, or they say, I really would love support on this, that's a good sign. So just having some conversations could be very insightful. And then finally, pre-selling your coaching. So what this means is you sell it before you actually create it. So before you make a website or a program, you can tell people that you're going to soon launch it. You're going to soon be offering it. So you might say, I'm going to soon launch a course on blank topic, right? Or I'm going to soon create a workshop on blank topic, fill in the blank, whatever it might be. I'm going to soon create a program to help new moms navigate motherhood, for example. Right? I'm going to launch a course to help singles find love in their 50s. I'm just giving you different examples. And then you could say, if you know people that might be interested in learning more when I actually release this, let me know, comment below, send me your email. If you notice that people are jumping at the opportunity, that's a good sign. If you notice they're referring others to you, that's a good sign as well. But if you struggle to get any interest, then this doesn't mean that the coaching industry is broken. It doesn't mean that you're not a good coach. It just means that your niche might need some tweaking. And I really want you to understand that, because sometimes You might put something out there and not get any response, and then you might question everything. You might question the path you're on. And often it's just pivoting your niche a little bit, and then you'll notice like the floodgate of clients that's already been there. Okay, so let me go over some of the myths that often lead coaches to choose non-viable niches. Okay, I'm going to share with you what's actually true, so that way it's going to save yourself a lot of time and money. The biggest myth, number one, is I should just have a coaching niche that's around what I'm passionate about. So if you think if I'm just passionate about it, then that's going to be my niche. But a niche really has to solve a real world problem that people are actively trying to resolve, not just something that excites you. Your enthusiasm about your coaching is still very useful, right? You definitely want to convey your enthusiasm, but it's got to be about something that people will actually pay for. So, for example, if you love personal growth and you just want to help people live their best lives, you're very passionate about that. Well, that's great, but that's not a clear, urgent problem that people will pay for. So, we've just got to get specific on what goal will help them live their best life. Like, what specific goal can you help them achieve? Right? So, look for what people are, tap into what people are already looking for, and then bring your passion into solving that problem. Let me say that one more time. Tap into what people are already looking for support with, and then bring your passion into solving that problem versus just relying on your passion alone. All right, myth number two is thinking that you just need to be specific and then you'll attract clients. Okay, this one is also really big. Now, specificity absolutely matters, but you know what matters more? Demand. There actually being demand. So a lot of coaches will hear that they need to niche down, and they'll assume that if they just get really hyper specific, people will automatically come. But if you get really specific without having demand, it still doesn't lead to clients. So for example, if you say, I help left-handed digital nomads improve their self-confidence, that's really specific, right? But is there any demand? Probably not. So a much better question to ask yourself is, is there a group of people right now struggling with this problem? It's so painful and frustrating that they would pay for support. So is there a group of people struggling with a problem so painful and frustrating that they would pay for support? The metaphor that I often give our coaches in the academy is think about you putting a bucket into a stream of water that's already flowing, right? You're just tapping into something, a resource that's already there versus you trying to create water from scratch. Okay, instead of trying to create water from scratch and create your own river and creating your own currency, just find a river that's already got a good current to it, right? And just put your bucket into the river. When you can align your coaching program and your offer with demand that already exists, your clients will just flow right to you. But if you try to create and invent demand for something that no one is looking for, it's just like trying to dig a trench in a dry area on the planet and hoping that rain's going to come. All right, next myth is thinking that if you just market yourself really well, you can really create demand for your niche. This kind of builds off of the last one. And honestly, I've heard some business mentors and coaching trainers out there that will say you need to just create demand. And I don't agree with this. You should not have to create demand for your coaching. I mean, you could create some level of demand, but wouldn't it make more sense to just tap into existing demand? Think of the river metaphor that I shared earlier, right? If people aren't actively searching for help with your niche, with your specialty, then no amount of social media posts or ads or fancy branding is going to change all of that. So find the demand first and then position yourself as the solution. I'll say that one more time. Find the demand first and then position yourself as the solution. And I could give you I've probably shared this in the other niche episodes, but when I was getting started, I really didn't know like what niches were viable. It was so vague, and I knew that I wanted to help people find their voice. And this is a really nice sounding desire because I'm very passionate about that topic and the idea of finding your voice and being able to live your truth. It sounds very lovely, doesn't it? But it's not really addressing an urgent problem. So at one phase in my coaching business before I was training coaches, I supported entrepreneurs that wanted to get paid to speak. I supported entrepreneurs with teaching them how to sell from the stage. So how to create transformational events and grow their business through speaking from the stage. Now, this was a real urgent problem, and I was able to sell many high ticket $5,000, $10,000 coaching programs because it was solving a real urgent problem for this audience. I was tapping into a river, a currency that was already there. And the thing is, I still was able to fulfill my purpose of helping people share their voice. It was just the packaging of it, the way I was able to market and message what I was doing that had to be changed. So don't think like all of the good soul work that you want to do, don't think like that goes out the window when you decide to pursue a niche. This is not true. You're going to still fulfill your soul's work. It's just knowing exactly what's the sign that we're putting on the door. So people know, okay, that's a store that I want to go in and shop around. Okay. Okay. Another myth is that if your niche is too common and there's too much competition, that's probably a bad thing. You might think, oh, there's no money to be made. And this is totally false. Okay. Competition is a good thing. We love when we could see that there's competition out there. Okay, we love when we see that because it means that there is demand. So if you avoid competition, you're going to end up choosing a niche that there's likely no demand for. So instead of avoiding competition, you want to look at what's working, what do people actually want, and how can you differentiate yourself? Okay, and if you listened to, I think it was the episode before, it was one of the recent episodes I did, I talked about how your essence automatically gives you an advantage because it's unique to you. So listen to that episode on the advantage that new coaches have. That's the title, where I talk about how your essence alone, which is natural to who you are, your vibe, your energy, your presence, that is going to help you stand out and differentiate yourself right away by default. The next myth is that you might just think, you know what, I don't need to focus on this whole niche thing. I can coach anyone on anything and I can have a successful business. So you might think that you just want to be a very general life coach. Okay. And you could have some success with this, but people will pay a lot more to get specialized help, right? If you market yourself as the coach that helps people reach their potential, good luck. Good luck with that. It's so vague, right? And if you're like mildly appealing to everybody, then it's very difficult to build a scalable business versus if you can really strongly resonate with a specific problem for a specific person, that's where you're really going to see your business take off. That's way more effective. Okay, people don't want general transformation. They want specific solutions to real problems in their life. So when you do have a niche, it's going to help you stand out. It's going to help you be the go-to person for a real challenge that they have. Another myth is thinking that your niche should reflect your own personal journey. This is one that sometimes we see with our newer students. They might think, okay, here's a challenge I overcame, so therefore it needs to become my coaching niche. Now, your own experiences in life could really be helpful, but it's not necessarily enough to automatically mean that's where you need to grow your business. There still needs to be demand. Okay, so your coaching niche is not necessarily something that you've overcome in your life. Now, if there's demand for resolving that challenge you overcame, that's an entirely different story. If so, then that's great. But if you think that just because you overcame something, it needs to translate into your business, again, only if the demand is there. And then finally, the last myth that I often hear come up is thinking that you need to have a totally unique niche to succeed. You might think that you need to overcomplicate things and think of something that's never been done before and have a niche that no one has ever heard of. But really, if you do this, then you're going to find that it's going to be very difficult for you to grow your business because you have to create the demand, you have to educate people on why they need help, you have to convince them to work with you, and this is just not a way that you need to grow your business at all. It's also like not really a reliable way to grow your business. The reality is there are profitable niches right now that you can focus on that have been around for decades because there's demand. So instead of trying to create something that's never been done before, you can focus on who do you want to serve? What's going to make you different? What's going to make you stand out from others that provide that service? And then how could you offer the best solution into an existing market? So who do you want to serve? What's going to make you different? Like what about you makes you different? And then how can you offer the best solution to an already existing market? Okay, so as promised, I am going to share with you the super niches. Okay, these are the 3 niches that people are constantly willing to invest their time, energy, and money into, regardless of trends, regardless of market shifts. So the three super niches are health, wealth, and relationships. Health, wealth, and relationships. Okay. And I feel like I'm going to make an entirely different episode where I'll like explain more about those three super niches. But the reason why they are the super niches is because they are evergreen. They're evergreen problems. People never graduate from needing more help in those three areas, right? If you look at a lot of the things you currently invest in, it's probably to better your health, your wealth, your relationships. They're also very emotionally charged, right? People have a real urgency to solve challenges when they have issues come up with their health, their wealth, and their relationships. And career falls within wealth. And they're also very measurable and visible. Okay, it's people are able to actually see transformation and progress, and this is also really important. So these are why they are the super niches. So if your niche can connect to health, wealth, or relationships, then that means you're tapping into a market that never runs out of demand. Okay, so then the key is then to just carve out a specific high value slice of one of those super niches and solve a clear problem better than anyone else. Okay, and I talk about in one of my other episodes on choosing a niche, I talk about the difference between a broad versus a narrow niche. So when I say health, wealth, and relationships, I don't mean just call yourself a health coach because that's still very broad. It means have a little high value slice in that niche. So what's the area of health that you want to focus on? Right. So I want to end by saying a few remaining thoughts on this topic. As you can see, I'm very passionate about it. And deciding on your niche it's big. And this is why we have an entire lesson in our business training on identifying your niche. We give you lifetime business mentorship and coaching in our program. So we will help you know exactly what your niche is. We will make sure it is viable. So that way you don't have to be reinventing the wheel. We'll make sure you know what it is. You don't have to have your niche picked out before you get into coach training. We will help you with that entire process. I want to finish by saying a few things. I want you to realize that your niche is not your purpose. This is a strategic business decision. So sometimes coaches put a lot of emotional weight on choosing their niche because they think it has to be your ultimate life purpose. But your niche is not a soul-defining decision. Okay, it's a strategic decision. So instead of thinking, what am I meant to do? I want you to ask yourself, where can I provide the most value in a way that is needed? Okay, where can I provide the most value in a way that is needed? And I promise you, you will still fulfill your life's purpose through working with your niche. You will still be able to fulfill what you feel called to do in your life. I also want to remind you that there's a difference between a nice to have and a must have. So a lot of non-viable niches fall into the nice to have solutions instead of must have. So nice to have is something that people think is cool, but they don't feel an urgency to pay for it. Right? Like maybe if you say, I help people live with more joy and fulfillment, that would be a nice to have. But a must have is a solution people are actively searching for, and they're actively willing to invest in that area. So if you say something like, I help professionals get out of toxic work environments and land jobs they actually love. Hear the difference with that? This would be more of a must have. So one question to ask yourself when you're thinking of your niche is, would someone pay $2,000 to solve this problem today? If I could help someone solve this problem today, would they pay at least $2,000? If not, the niche is likely not viable. It's likely not scalable as well. All right. And really, at the end of the day, the market always decides, not your ego. So one of the biggest blind spots that some coaches have is they ignore the market's feedback because they're maybe emotionally attached to their idea. So you might want your niche to work out so badly that you ignore the signs that it isn't landing. And maybe you're listening to this episode because you've been really excited about a niche and you're noticing like maybe it's not as viable as you thought. So if your niche isn't attracting paying clients, after doing some testing, I want you to know that the market is giving you really valuable data. When I say the market, I just mean people out there. So it's not a sign that you have to push harder and make your life more stressful. It's a sign that you just need to adapt. That's it. So you can ask yourself, are you resisting change because you're so emotionally invested to your original idea? Are you just resisting the change? Have you really tested out the niche with real people, or are you just guessing that it's going to work out? Are you really listening to the market, or are you trying to force an outcome on other people? Hey, the most successful coaches, the best entrepreneurs, they follow the demand instead of forcing an idea that isn't resonating. All right, so I really want you to take what I got here. I'm probably going to have a follow-up episode because I'm so fired up about this topic, and think about how you can apply it to you and your coaching business. Of course, we are having so much fun. We're having a blast in Thriving Coach Academy. We have a new cohort that is kicking off really soon. So if you want us to help you figure out a niche that's going to help you grow a massively successful coaching business, let's get you in the academy. Let's make it happen. Go to our website, check out our stuff, and let's get you inside. And if you're enjoying the podcast, leave us a 5-star review. It means the absolute world to me if you do that. Before we go, I'm going to include a little interview that I had with one of our actual coaches inside the academy, so you can hear about their experience, but also hear their tips on how you can become successful and some of the things that helped them become successful as well. So enjoy their story, and I will see you in the next episode.
I'm Michaela.
And I'm Tyler.
And together we run My Thai Fitness, and we help adventurous couples get their dream bodies together.
So before the program, our business was making less than $2,000 a month. Right now, going into 2021, we see exponential growth coming down the pipeline. We're looking to bring in at least $5K to even $10K a month.
I think we've tripled our rates at this point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As well as we've booked our high ticket clients and continue to do so.
Yeah, we've now booked 2 high ticket clients. One for sure committed for 3 months, probably past that, and one yesterday just committed to 6 months. Mm. And it's just crazy to think, because we were like, that's not possible. Really, the scripts were so helpful. Everything from how to sell without feeling like you're actually selling, because that's really a big fear of both of ours, because we don't want to come across as the car salesman that you're negotiating the price of a car down on. It's what is going to actually attract people and make them believe that they can transform. And that really just gave us so much confidence, both to have the script and know that it works. It's been so rewarding to watch our clients transform and get the messages from them and the transformation photos and what has opened up for their lives, and then sending that out into the world has just already brought so many more people to us. So we've already kind of joked that if everyone signs up from our consult calls, we're going to be full. We can't take anyone else. I could barely dream of 5K, let alone 10K. And now we're wow, that could even be more.
Hey, would you like access to powerful coaching tools you can use on yourself and clients right away? For being a listener of the podcast, I'm giving you a VIP guest pass to get a sneak peek into my coach training program. Inside, you'll learn our coaches' secret tool they use to transform their clients' lives. And you'll also get a training on how to launch a coaching business. Just head over to www.thrivingcoachacademy.com/VIP to get started. I'll see you on the inside.